in the back now. Good?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Really loud. Is that really loud?
That sounds that's good. Yeah.
Well, like Jessica said, the last time I was able to give the State of the City in person was 2 years ago. And it was here at TRG. I just wanted to give a shout out to TRG Multimedia. As you can see, this place is amazing. It's so cool. These sets are just tremendous, and the quality of work that they do and the different things they do for companies across this region and throughout the country is just kind of a little glimpse of the amazing businesses that we have here in Brooklyn that not a lot of people know about. So thanks to TRG again for hosting us again. And I want to thank some of the city council members that are here today. Meg Ryan Shockey, put your hand up, and Andy Selhurst, our audio guy, the go-to guy for everything. Just was Easter Bunny last week at our Easter egg hunt. So our go-to council person, Andy, thank you for all you do. I want to thank the businesses that are here and for everything you've done throughout the time I've been in office, but as well as throughout the struggles of the pandemic and participating and still giving and donating. We appreciate all you do for the city of Brooklyn, and I know the chamber does as well. I also want to thank my employees. You know, a lot of the things that I can tout here when in the State of the City are because of the employees that work for me. And I think that the directors have done an amazing job of readjusting and understanding the impacts of COVID and how they played on the city and in the long term as we look forward to some of the struggles that lie ahead, but also some of those opportunities as well. And so that's how I really structured my State of the City. I kind of reversed time and I looked to the very beginning of 2018 when we sat down to talk about master planning for the city. And we put together a steering committee of people, residents and businesses and school members to talk about what are those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that Brooklyn faces going forward. The County Planning Commission calls it a noise analysis to have better words instead of threats and weaknesses, and to see more of a positive, the opportunities that lie ahead. And so this is how I structured my State of the City today. So I want to see how far we've come, but also some of the projects that we have going on. I don't expect you to read it, but this is a glimpse of what that noise analysis was, the needs, the opportunities, improvements, exceptions, and strengths. And we've taken a look at this not only for putting together the master plan and the end product that was passed by City Council meeting last year, but also internally we have a strategic plan that our directors and chiefs follow. And we follow those values to make sure that we're providing services and investing money where the businesses and the people of Brooklyn wanted us to invest. So one of those things we've heard from residents a lot of clear is you need to improve your communication with residents and businesses. So along with our branding that we did last year, we improved what we had here and we expanded our communication. So you can see we print a newsletter quarterly, and those are mostly for the older residents because not everybody uses social media and online as their way of communication. So it gives a good brief of what's going on, events going on, and a glimpse of what Brooklyn has to highlight. For our businesses, Jeremy, our Economic Development Director, has created a quarterly newsletter that goes out to our entire email of businesses to make sure that they understand what opportunities that lay out in front of them, but also what services we can provide, and to make sure they know about important things that might impact their businesses like construction. As well as our website has been improved, our calendar of events. If you want to know what's going on with the city, we make sure that we put everything together, and you know if you want to participate and be involved in Brooklyn, you have one easy source to find all of that. Everything is ADA accessible. We make sure that we're going and highlighting everything for everybody, easy access. And then also in our recreation center, we've really streamlined how we get information out. If you are a member of the recreation center or just want to get alerts, they do an amazing job of not only their social media, but their newsletters. And you can update on all of their programs going on. They've really done a tremendous job. So hopefully, residents and businesses feel like they're receiving this communication, and what I'm talking about is just maybe the 10th time they heard it. And that's good. That means that you're knowing what's going on, and you're not waiting till one time in a year to find out. So the other big need was just after American Greetings had left, and we saw the dip with income taxes. So residents and businesses, we need to bring in these businesses to make up for this. And we need to improve our vacancies. So if you see, this building that we're standing here, once the home of American Greetings, they made up 21% of our income tax revenue here in the city of Brooklyn. So obviously that blow is going to be big. But currently, as we say, we have 9 new businesses and 2 on the way coming to this site. And so we've done, in partnership with ICP, done a tremendous job of filling this property. Although it only makes up 1/2 of the income taxes we lost currently, it provides us a more diverse tax base. So should we lose one of these businesses, it's okay. We have stability here in Brooklyn. And I think this just is a good highlight of the tremendous work that has gone on this property. One thing I want you to point your attention to is this revenue, and I know it might be hard to see, but you can see when Brooklyn dipped to this lowest point after American Greetings left of income tax revenue, just under $14 million. Last year, we had just under $20 million, so we've bounced back. The sad news is $2.8 million of last year's income tax revenue is non-reoccurring revenue or not profit tax. So that means we can't actually budget on that revenue because we don't know if we're going to have it next year. So even with minusing that, we still are seeing an upward trajectory, and that's despite work from home and the pandemic causes here in Brooklyn. That's the one thing that we don't know going forward. We have seen some dips this year from work from home, and we're hoping that that stabilizes, and we hope that long term that we're okay, and I believe that we will. I think this slide represents that we have a strong economy here, and we have a lot of things going for us now and in the future. One other improvement identified by residents is we're tired of seeing vacant property. We would not like to see vacant storefronts, especially in the Ridge Park Square area. At that point, Perkins was empty. You can see at the bottom left, Raising Cane's had demolished Perkins. It's built since then. And Ridge Park Square has done a tremendous job of bringing in new retail. All these things here, plus Firehouse Subs and Five Guys and Crumble will be coming this year. Brooklyn is an ideal location. Our vacancy rate for retail is less than 5%. That is terrific. We are on par for that same rate for countywide. And then if you look at our industrial vacancy rate, we're less than 1%. That is amazing when the county is trending above 6%. So right now I think we're doing a tremendous job. It's a thing that we measure to make sure that we're continually moving forward and taking care of our vacant properties. Another thing residents especially want to make sure that we have is top-notch community and safety services. So I can't say enough great things about our police and fire force and all of our departments, really. But just some of the highlights, especially over the last year with our fire and police. So we just received our ISO rating, and our ISO rating is a 2. What that means is Brooklyn is ranked in the top 4% of fire departments throughout the nation. So in your ISO commercial rating, they measure your fire operations, your emergency communication, and your water supply. So being in the top 4%, that first class, or the second class out of 10 classes, just speaks volumes to the quality of our fire department. We added another ambulance this year, and we follow the metrics. We continue to see an upswing of medic calls and a downswing of fire calls. So we want to make sure should one of our ambulances go out of service, we always have a backup ready to go. As far as our police department, I mentioned this last year that we were trying to get certified for the Ohio Police Collaborative. I'm happy to say, as of last week, we are 100% certified in the Ohio Police Collaborative. What that means is we follow best practices set by the state. So our police force makes sure all of our policies, make sure that our community response is what is set by the state for best practices for police departments. As well as some other things that we've added this year is as we continue to add officers to deal with crime, We've added these flock cameras. These flock cameras have been very helpful for us. What they do, we don't use them to stop someone with driving under suspension or speeding. What they're used for is to follow up if there's a warrant that's alerted in our community, or if there's something specific they're looking for, if there's a theft that occurs, they use those cameras to look back and look for details about a car that they know from responding to the call, or a partial license plate or a full license plate. And we can follow those tracks. This is the equivalent of having another 5 police officers on the road. It's been very helpful in solving crimes and preventing crimes. So it has been a nice addition in our department. As well as the police department with our location with 71 and our 90 and 480, we have a lot of retail thefts. We have a lot of big box stores. And so really working in conjunction with those big box stores to make sure they have loss prevention officers on staff, but also that we have a good structure. At one point they were coming in with a pile of 30 thefts that happened in their store over the course of a month, and it happened 30 days ago. Well, we want to make sure we're communicating. The only way we can effectively help them is to have a good partnership with the loss prevention officers at the retail stores. So last year I was happy to say violent crime in Brooklyn, while the nation was trending up, we were trending down. We have seen an increase in a little bit of things, but I want to give context to some of those increases. So at the bottom, you can see the 2020 numbers, 2021 numbers. This is blank. I don't know why I'm copying pieces the wrong one. But historically, even though we went up just slightly, 1 or 2 or 3, historically we're trending down on some of these violent crimes. And so when you look at an annual report and you look year over year, you may not see the full picture. We have to really look historically. How are we trending? You can't look from year to year. So I think right now, despite a couple increases in a couple crimes in our area, historically we're trending down. Traffic. We hear about traffic all the time, especially on Bridge and Tiedemann, and this was the same back in 2018. Right before the pandemic, we were working with NOACA to do what's called a STOP program, the Signaling Timing Optimization. The struggle with a corridor like Bridge Road is that we have part of it in Brooklyn, part of it in Cleveland, and part of it in Marmont. And so we have 3 different signal companies working for all 3 cities. And so a place like NOACA can come and bring those cities together and look at the timing, and they finally started this year. They stopped because of COVID. They said we can't measure the traffic counts because of the less cars, but they started a few months ago, and that will be complete by the end of the year, hopefully in time to implement right after construction of Bridge Road. We're hopeful that we're going to see improvement. Their experiences elsewhere in the county have shown that this has been helpful, and it puts us all in the same system, working together. It's been a great partnership with Parma and Old Brooklyn area. As well as this year, we'll finally be able to, with the Memphis Bridge closed right now, we're taking that opportunity to add the right turn lane there at Memphis and Tiedemann. This is really to help with traffic in that area and increased, as well as the semi-trucks in the area having that turn radius to go around. And then this year, we're having our engineer take a look of here. This is found at 480 in Tiedemann. There's this median right here of whether to add another go-through lane here like there is on the other side. As we have all these businesses continue to go back to work, especially in this property, in addition of Amazon, we're going to see increased traffic. And we want to be prepared to have this easy access to the highways, especially for residents and businesses. So one of our biggest projects, and I'm sure most of you have seen the construction. Last year I looked at the slideshow, and it was just the outside of what this could possibly be. And finally, these are the schematics. This will be done in December. This is our new Civic Center. So when I took office, we did a municipal building needs assessment, and we had $19 million of repairs to $19 million to do repairs in our municipal buildings, of which our City Hall and Police Station were about $8 million of that, probably about $12 million in today's inflation rate. But so we decided this is the better opportunity. Our police department needed expanding, and this project will cost the city approximately $26 million, and that includes the demolition of our current site. So again, this will be done in December. It meets one of the needs that residents identified, and we're happy, and we're going to be providing a good quality space for years to come. So you can see up here, the big dirt pile is where the building is being built. We had to add a parking lot in front of our current recreation center. But some of the other needs and improvements identified along the same lines is we need to improve our library, and we need to improve our recreation facility. I'll start with the library. The library currently sits at the intersection of Hurricane Alley and Ridge. This library serves over 30,000 people throughout the region. That is their home branch. And so they came to us and said, look, we want to expand, we really can't expand in our current location. This was a great opportunity with our project to allow them to expand to 25,000 square feet. This current building will remain, it will convert to the school under the current deed, and they will use it for administrative purposes. But the library has already picked out an architect, and they're in process, and now they're going to be reaching out to residents a little bit more and surveying and making sure that they're meeting what the residents believe are the needs of the community with this new building. So the current city hall will be demolished early next year, and they will start construction soon thereafter on a new building of the library. And then the other thing is, you're going to have this brand new building, and we have an older rec center. Part built in the 70s, part built in the early 80s. So we've been working with our GPD, our engineer, as well as WTI on ways that we can improve our rec center. There's a price point for everything. So we're going to go out to the residents and say, here are a couple options, and here's what they cost. So that's going to be coming soon. There's a lot of opportunity with the current building. We want to keep it in place, but we want to make sure we're providing the services that residents want. Unfortunately, we have more non-residents using that facility than residents. And until we can get that shift, this is considered really a regional asset that Brooklyn taxes are paying for. So we want to make sure we're providing those services to bring our residents back and to make sure that they're using the facility. Trail connection. So right now, Brooklyn is a void or an opportunity, some would say, in the map for the Greenway plan. Cuyahoga County Planning Commission put together an interactive Greenway map. So this is a GIS map that I cut and paste Brooklyn. And so this trail system that they put together is for the entire region. And some of these are just recommendations that they would say to connect to metro parks or the zoo or different trail connections that are already existing in other communities. And currently, as it sits, I have a resolution on for City Council to adopt and say, yes, we support the Greenway plan. They're not necessarily saying we support individual trails, but they support the idea of we're going to make connections when we're doing projects. And then this is a prime example. This wasn't on the Greenways plan. This is a prime example of adding trails to benefit the community and long-term accessibility of park space. So that upper image is Marquardt Park. If you know, it's a pocket park right in the middle of a bunch of residential areas. We took the opportunity to extend trails out to all the community on that area so they have full access to that park. They can bike to that park, walk to that park, and it's been a great addition. I'll tell you, I bring my kids there all the time. I've seen so many people use that park much more than I have in the past. And we're continuing to do improvements. We've replaced the playground. We're adding a feature this year. We're redoing the bathroom, adding some exercise equipment. And then this year we just secured a grant that we're adding lighting and cameras to the park as well. Going along with more trail connection. So we worked on our creek stabilization project, our regional sewer district in West Creek Conservancy last year, where we naturalized the creek. There was a lot of flooding. There was a ford that was breaking up in one area that was removed. And then we had Gabion walls holding up the sides of the creek, and they were falling in. nature wanted to take its course and put that creek back to its natural state. So what we did is we allowed Regional Sewer District with the help of biohabitats to do that. So they've added in a lot of different environmental factors that will help create that natural environment. It's good for flooding, it's good for erosion, it's good for animals. Long term, this would be a good thing for the city. It preserves our park for years to come. But what we had to do with that stabilization is take out part of the trail. And so we secured another grant to extend the trail a little bit more and build a pedestrian bridge. All of that, the project took a little too long last year, so all of that is going to happen this year. We were able to get the one connection to Rodone done before the end of last year. But the pedestrian bridge and the extension near the Historical Society of the Ridge will happen this year. Since we were doing that, we put in the 5-year capital budget that we were just going to repave all of the walking space down there. So the entire trail for down Lower Memorial Park and trails going down will be repaved this year as part of our capital plan. The other project is a state funding opportunity we received to add a trail going down into the kingdom. And I don't know if you know where the kingdom is, that's what they refer to it. There's no formal name as a child, they refer to it as the kingdom. But when they moved 71, all this property right here was given to the city. But there's a deed restriction, it has to be used for park space. So there's no real convenient access. It's an old road that they used to go down because it used to be an old firing range. And so what we're doing is we're building an actual access road down there, as well as the beginning of a trail, so people can start to use that. It's a beautiful space if you haven't been down there. The Boy Scouts go down there a lot to clean up. It's right behind our fire station, and so with the demolition of the animal shelter, there's an easy access trail right there off of Memphis. Improving streets. Everyone, infrastructure is important, and we've really worked to make sure that we prioritize just over $1 million a year on local streets. And I'm happy to say this pavement condition report, it's probably hard to see. Green's good, blue's good, red, orange, and yellow not so good. So this is in 2020, and I'm happy to say by 2023 we will have eliminated all the red, the orange, and the yellow. So we've been working hard to make sure that we're improving our streets. Some notable streets for this upcoming year is, just to warn you, is Bridge Road from Flowerdale to Pearl. This is a county project. You can see with the Memphis Bridge closed down right now, this is going to create a lot of traffic. So if you can, avoid the area. That is scheduled to start this summer. And then next year, Brook Park Road is getting done. So again, it's much needed. It's on that list of streets that we need to work on. But it will be good long term, but it will create a lot of traffic. So I like to warn people. And then 480 and 71 are slated to be done on ODOT's list for repaving throughout Brooklyn as well next year. One of the other opportunities that was identified in the noise analysis was unifying the look of Brooklyn. I updated everyone last year as we created a new kind of identity brand for city, a little fresh looking. You'll be starting to see different signage going up in different areas that we're working on improving streetscaping, because it's something that we've heard over and over. Some of the signage is just going to be for the Civic Center, replacing where the Senior Center sign is, or the service garage, or current buildings. This one sign in the middle is the signs that are going to be off the 480 corridor. That's going to go along with new landscaping, improving that area. And so, little by little, we like to add to this, continue on streetscaping, continue on look, to make sure we have clean looking corridors and gateways coming into our community. Some other aspects of the noise analysis we've been working on but haven't fully developed is our housing stock. Brooklyn is a built-out community, 1950s bungalows and ranches. And so far today, what we've been helping residents do is just with grant money to help with exterior. Last year, we added an interior element where residents could get up to $5,000 to add a bathroom. So this is an example. It's hard to see, but it's a cool example. This is a basement and bathroom. Some will convert that grant money last year, but then it, provided that house, that second bathroom, which helps that person eventually sell for a greater price. But we're still looking at opportunities. We have vacant land where maybe we can have new housing options. We're going over that with our new zoning update and really making sure that we're giving residents what they feel fits for current spaces. So we're leaving a lot of opportunity with some of our vacant land, but we want to make sure it's the right fit for our community. And then making sure that we're providing businesses that incentives or updates for improving their storefronts. So I think there'll be a lot more opportunity with ARPA dollars in the county to help businesses improve their storefronts, and so we want to make sure that we're in line to access that money as well as provide that money. So we just see just small improvements, how much it can look in a corridor and streetscaping for our community. One of the other aspects is update our parking code. That will be part of the zoning code update. We will no longer want that sea of parking. Things have changed, and so with our step back changes, with our parking code regulation changes, we're hoping that we embrace different ways of doing things. We have slowly over the years already. Menards is an example. Menards did not meet our parking requirements, but what they have works for them. They don't need any more parking. So we're moving towards that way. One other thing that we haven't really talked much about, what's been in progress, we received a grant about a year and a half ago through the County Planning Commission. It was a joint effort, again, between Parma and Old Brooklyn in Brooklyn. And the County Planning Commission has been doing a real assessment along the whole Brook Park corridor. We have over 14,000 people who work along that corridor. It is a good economic development opportunity. But as you can see, Brook Park really needs some work. All three of us have different zoning standards. We have different uses. We have different environmental regulations. And so what the Planning Commission did is put together a plan for us so we can work jointly on just capitalizing on that large road that we have going through all of our communities, and to make sure we continue to invest, to that we take that opportunity for the outcome of Brook Park to be good long term. And you can see, this is hard to see, but the value of some of this land is very high. And so that investment in that is a really good return for all three communities. And then one other thing I want to talk about is we finished up the census, which is really a good tracking point for communities to see how they're doing. I would say that I'm really proud to be one of 13 communities that reversed decades of population decline. So our population actually went up in this 2020 census, which is, it's tremendous. I think that if you see Brooklyn as that green spot, that sea of red, it shows that Brooklyn is a place that people want to come and call home. And I just think that's fabulous. And then a couple other stats I want to talk about is the decline in poverty here. Specifically, child poverty has gone down 6%, and overall poverty has gone down a few percent as well. And then another fact that I just find interesting is we are number 8 in the state of Ohio with the percentage of foreign population. You think back to how Brooklyn was built up in the 50s, and you've had first-generation families from Germany, from Ireland, from Italy, and that's just how our city was built. I think that this foreign population, we're seeing high percentage of Asian population, Hispanic population. We should really look at that as an opportunity and celebrate that and make sure that we're providing the services and the opportunity for the people who are moving into our community in the future. So, and the most important part, the questions that you have. I might not have, it's hard in one speech to cover everything that everyone's looking for. So if there are any particular questions, Andy, go ahead, or I can just repeat it, Barb. Do you have a list of questions?
Now, why don't you touch on the grant money you just received for trees?
Sure. So I'm all for grant money. So much so I forward so many grant dollars to directors, and I don't care if it's $500 or $500. money for trees. This year, we've actually received it every year since the county started with the tree canopy money. And we've invested a lot. You can see in particular areas, like if you go down Bidoff where the pavilion is, or on Tatum Road, where we have open space, we've been planting trees. The tree canopy in Brooklyn has declined, as much of the county. This particular year, we're adding street trees to 3 areas, and then we're also doing an inventory. We're GISing. So it's one thing to add trees, it's another thing to take care of them. So the GIS will make sure that we know the type of tree, where the trees are located, and the proper maintenance of all those trees. So Davey's doing that. And so we'll have a GIS map of all of that, and it helps. We have a shade tree commission that is intentional about the trees, because in the past that hasn't happened. If you're in a house where you have a tree that's too large for a tree lawn, what does it do? It breaks the sidewalk up. So you have to make sure you're planting the right trees for the area. And so our shade tree commission decides that, and we're capitalizing on these grant dollars like we do in every other department to make sure that we're adding to our tree canopy.
I want to read this historical society. This is very appropriate right now. This is an invitation to, it is from former Mayor Ken Patton and the City of Brooklyn. Cordially invite you to join us in celebrating our 25th anniversary as a tree city. And this was in, oh Lord, what year? This was in 2009, and we have been a tree city since 1984.
Yep. We just got our notice the other day.
Yep.
Renewed our tree city USA. John.
Last week at the museum, somebody mentioned that down one of the side streets off of Bidoff, I don't know if it's where the lion statues are or the gorilla statue, but if you go down one of those streets, supposedly there are mastodon bones down at the end of the street. Is that true or false?
You're the historical society.
They were serious.
Here's a story I do know. I know that there were dinosaur bones found along the 71 corridor, actually behind our police chief's house, because Case Western went out there and they excavated stuff.
I remember that.
Well, yeah, we know that.
Okay, that's all that I know about it.
We know down head in the Metro Park there off of Memphis that during the Depression back in the 30s when the people were working down the building the park, they did find fossil fish and things like that, because my father was down there when they did it in 36 or thereabouts. But this was something new about mastodon bones.
It's news to me.
It was news to us too.
Yeah.
So if you ever hear about it, let us know,
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay.
So, Mayor, you mentioned a lot of great projects going on, provide tremendous value, service to the residents and community. But what do you see as the greatest challenge coming up in the coming months, into next year?
The question is the greatest challenge. So I would say work from home. Businesses have used COVID as an opportunity to look at their business and see how they're going to operate from here. I know talking to Jeremy, you have a playbook as an economic development director that has worked for a decade now. That playbook's not the same. So it's to kind of refocus and really understand what businesses need. 97% of the income tax that we receive in the state from the businesses. So we value our business partners and we want to make sure that we're in line with helping our businesses grow, just as much as hearing the feedback from our residents. So I'd say that really is what that challenge looks like, especially for like one of our largest employers, Key Bank. They are moving towards more work from home because it's helping them with their workforce shortage. People want flexibility, so they're providing their employees with flexibility. What that means for a place like Brooklyn, though, is lower income taxes. But, there's some perks there in that we are a cheaper place to locate than downtown. So Key Bank is moving employees here, which hopefully that means we stabilize any loss. So just really understanding what businesses are going to be doing from here on out, I would say is the biggest challenge. That's it.
Any other questions? Okay.
Is there a big difference in between people retiring in Brooklyn and then not paying, having to pay the RETA, and then new people coming in? Does it level out?
So, yes and no. So, a common misunderstanding is that we receive a lot of income tax from Brooklyn residents. That's just not the case. Unless you are living and working in Brooklyn, you are not paying 2.5%. So, I'll take my husband for instance. He works in the city of Cleveland. His 2.5% goes to the city of Cleveland. And Brooklyn gives 100% credit, meaning since we're 2.5%, we credit him the 2.5% he's paid elsewhere. So he's paid 0 to Brooklyn, but versus my salary, 100% goes to the taxes within the city of Brooklyn. So yeah, we're not receiving income tax from seniors, but we're really not receiving a ton of income tax from residents, period, because of our structure.
Talk about the parking situation. Is there any plan or thought to changing the on-street parking during the winter months and just not allowing it to be
John,
there?
I'm going to invite you to one of these meetings. We've talked about this so many times, and we'll have safety meetings on this topic. And it is like talking to an extreme Republican and an extreme Democrat. I mean, it's bonkers. So there's just the varying views of it, and it's one screaming at the other, and us just kind of sit in the middle going, okay, well, it's easiest to keep status quo because, I mean, how are you gonna decide here? So we can continue to talk about it, like maybe let the council people talk about it some more. I'll tell you from an operations standpoint, cars on the street make it difficult to plow snow, they make it difficult to pick up trash cans. And I'll tell you, if it was up to the service department, you would never be able to park on the street.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions? Well, I did ask Craig, and he said that we have a few minutes. I'd like to, first of all, thank Mayor Gallagher for coming and doing your presentation today. And then I would like to go around the room and just do a quick introduction, name, business,